and welcome back to lecture 4.1, the last day of EloEllie's summer intensive SDG with UN. What we're going to talk about today is two goals. Goal number 5 and goal number 10. Goal number 5 is gender equality, and goal number 10 is induced inequalities. But we're going to add a separate section to that of none other than cultural diversity. I hope that you can see that well in the video. Great. So what is goal number 5? What do we mean by gender equality? Well, it means that ever since the 1700s, when civilizations were really fully established, women haven't played as big of a role as men have. In the past, it was women deciding to stay home, take on the role of a caretaker, having children, and raising them as a mother, and the men going out to work. And as society slowly established itself into the 21st century, it seems as if those gender norms have changed. But unfortunately, we haven't seen a full change, because even now, women make inherently less than men do, with a large wage gap in what we're actually bringing home. And there's still the idea that even if women join the workforce, at a certain point, they'll marry, they'll have children, and they'll leave. And this idea in of itself is rooted in gender inequality. It's in believing that women need to play the role as a caretaker, someone who's in the home, and men will continue to go outside and do the dangerous jobs. But it's been proven biologically that sure, women may have less body strength than men do simply because we have more body fat, but at the same time, that doesn't mean that women can't do the same occupations, jobs, or skills that men have. And that's what I want to talk about. But further, moving on to number 10. Number 10 is induced inequalities. Induced inequality simply means that when the government makes their socioeconomic systems or racial hierarchies, we are inducing inequality on certain groups of people. The women and men, gender inequality can also be seen as an induced inequality because there's no one else, no higher power above all of our civilizations that said that men are better than women or men should make more than women. The governments and civilizations that we create induce the idea of a hierarchy on our society. And because we already talked about gender inequality, I also want to talk about cultural and sexual and orientation inequality. Because even in our current 21st century, we still discriminate based on cultures. We still discriminate based on the color of your skin and on ethnicities. Even within one race, we can see that various ethnicities are often at a disagreement. And go even further, with gender orientation and people finding their new identities of how they feel comfortable identifying as, there's already inequality rooted within that. So, when people fight about what they believe is true, when they say one group is inherently bad, we are allowing these induced inequalities to happen. Because it's okay to identify with different political parties, it's okay to believe in different things. But when what we believe in, our rights, start overstepping the line to other people's rights and start stealing away their right to speak, their right to write, their right to show up and illuminate their voice, we are overstepping the boundaries of what our right to free speech actually is. And so, the reason why the United Nations put goal number 5 and 10 as inequalities is because it's such a rampant problem. We haven't been able to solve it even until now. And that's why I want to add cultural diversity to that equation. The only way that we can get one step closer to accepting one another is to accept cultural diversity. Accept that it's okay to disagree, it's okay to have different opinions, it's okay to think differently. But we need to talk and discuss how we may be different culturally, physically, or visually. Because if if we keep avoiding the topic, denying that there's any difference, saying that everyone is the same, well, that's not true. Instead of saying, I don't see color, we can say, I see color. And that's why I love the world. Color, diversity, difference is beautiful. It's not something that we should be unable to see. It's something that we should recognize. But instead of discriminate based on that, we need to accept, open, and love because we are so different. And I know that that's so much easier said than done. But perhaps if we, in our communities, take one step towards accepting one another, one step towards finding differences and celebrating them, then our whole society, even if only 100 people do it, will be 100 steps closer towards achieving equality across all different kinds of differences. Equity and equality are different things. Equity is giving the exact same pedestal to everybody, but equality is raising everybody to the same level. So when we say equality, we don't mean conformity or making everyone the exact same. Instead, we mean raising everyone's respect for one another to the same exact level. So, if two people, let's represent them with ovals, are currently launched in society like this, then what we do with equality, we give this person, A, an addition to their pedestal so they can be equal to the other person. But these pedestals, they don't represent conformity. They don't represent giving some people more privileges than others. They represent respect. If we give everyone the proper amount of respect so that all people across the board have the same pedestal, are seeing things at the same level, then we're not going to argue. We're not going to fight over those differences because we can see from the same place. But because some of us are looking up from down and some other people are looking down from up, we simply have different ideas on how we should go about. So at the end of the day, if there's anything that you can take away from not only these two SDG goals, but from every other day, every other goal that we've learned about, it's to take one step closer towards celebrating diversity. It's hard, it's awkward, and you may not be used to it. But if 1, 2, 3 people become hundreds, then that's 100 steps that our society is going to evolve. And that's the only way that we're truly going to achieve all the goals that UN SDG wants us to. No poverty, gender inequality, induced inequalities, our environment. We can only solve these problems when we're looking from the same level. So let's celebrate diversity. I'm different, and so are you. But that's why we respect and love one another. Thank you so much for joining us. And this will be the last lecture video related to UN SDG goals for this summer intensive. But perhaps we'll have more in the future. We might even do a whole chapter of just covering each individual goals because we've only been able to talk about 8, I believe. But above all, please feel free to email me anytime at 2eloquentellie@gmail.com. You can also come to our website, EloEllie.com, join us for any future events that we'll have, and listen to my podcast that's talking about some of these things in a U.S. current events context. It's the EloEllie podcast, Season 4, The Future Rewritten. You can find it on all platforms that they have podcasts on, and even on YouTube, which is free and accessible to everyone. Thank you so much, and hopefully I'll see y'all very soon. Bye-bye.